Welcome to another edition of BFR Ministry Bible Facts Revealed. We are an extension of Absolute Bible Truth Atlanta, where Brother Joshua and Brother Big Baby are the teachers there, along with assistant pastors Brother Antoine, Brother LeVar, and Brother Kevin. And we are Absolute Bible Truth. I am Brother David, your teacher for today, and reading for me as usual is Sister Teresa.
How you doing?
And we have a motto here, and that motto is simply this: if they can't prove it, don't you believe it. And we would also like to invite you to join us every Sabbath, that's every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio for Absolute Bible Truth, where you'll be getting an edified class from Brother Joshua. That's again every Sabbath. That's every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Join us on Blog Talk Radio, Absolute Bible Truth, where our teacher will be Brother Joshua, who will be giving us a very edified and blessed class out of the scriptures. And the title of our class today, which we will be giving you, is this: Friday evening to Sunday morning, 3 days and 3 nights. Once again, Friday evening to Sunday morning, 3 days and 3 nights. And I think that people are probably listening to this title and scratching their heads saying, what? Is he going to try to do that? Yes, we are. We're going to show you something that people probably think more so. A lot of people think this. Do you ever wondered, or have you ever wondered why 99% of the world believes this, brothers and sisters? And that's a fair assessment, I think, percentage-wise. About 99% of the people in the world believe this, and where are they getting this from? Why do they believe this? In other words, they're saying that supposedly Good Friday evening to Easter Sunday morning, the Messiah was crucified and died and rose on Easter Sunday morning. So you have to ask yourself, why does 99% of the world believe this? Well, we're going to more than attempt to show you some things about this. We're going to remove some things and make it very clear, because this is actually written in the scriptures, not what I just said in terms of Good Friday or Easter Sunday, because you can't find that in the Bible. Nevertheless, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, because the Hebrews, the black Hebrew Israelites have this question: how can you get 3 full days and nights from Friday evening to Sunday morning mathematically? That's the question. So what we're going to do is answer this, because Satan, the devil, did something that was ingenious. He made an ingenious move, and he has subsequently blinded 99% of the Hebrew Israelites, and they can't see this thing, and it's right in the Bible. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how a couple of these things were altered and changed, and we're going to begin with going into a favorite book of the Hebrew Israelites. This is one of their favorite books. Ain't nothing wrong with the book. I love the book. It's a lot of great information in it. And they go to this book. This is the book I'm talking about. This is the book, The Last 2 Million Years. And they go into this book and they read, and it tells you about something that was added to the Christian calendar, and we're going to see what that is, and we're going to touch on what Satan did here, okay? And this is why you can't see what's in the scriptures. Nevertheless, we're going to go to the last 2 million years, and when we look at page 216, 217, and keep in mind, this is a favorite book of the Hebrew Israelites, and they haven't seen this, but I'm going to show you something here. And they go to the page that's titled Pagan Rites Absorbed. And we're going to read that. We're going to read that that section there and see what it says and move along section-wise. Kind of lay this out for you, kind of set it up before we actually go into the Bible and prove what we're trying to show you, because it's written in the Bible. How can we get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday evening, notice I didn't say good, Friday evening to Sunday morning? Notice I didn't say Easter. There's a reason. In any case, when you get to page 216, we're going to start reading. When you get there, pagan rites observed. Read what's there, because it also says monasteries secure the faith and keeping learning alive, which is weird, because most of the Hebrew Israelites I know that read this don't learn nothing from it. They just totally off base, but it's something in here. But anyway, start reading that pagan rites absorbed, and let's see what it says.
By a stroke of tactical genius.
What?
Tactical genius.
You know what being tactical is, brothers and sisters?
Calculating.
Exactly. Calculating. Now, this is was calculated not to improve your knowledge or your wisdom. It was to do just the opposite. Okay? But go ahead.
By a stroke of tactical genius, the church, while intolerant of pagan beliefs, was able to harness the powerful emotions generated by pagan worship.
Now, wait a minute. The church, that means Bible-believing Christians, right? Why would they want to harness the energy or whatever came with pagan worship, brothers and sisters, and mix it in with the worship of holy servants of God? Pay attention to what you're reading here. Go ahead.
Often churches were cited.
Why would they put churches on pagan sites? This is what they did. You see what's happening here? Pay attention to what you're reading. Go ahead.
Where temples had stood before, and many heathen festivals were added to the Christian calendar.
I can't believe this is in here. People don't pay attention to this. It said, where temples had stood before, and many heathen festivals, meaning pagan festivals, were added to the Christian calendar. Like what, for instance? Keep on reading.
Easter, for instance, a time of sacrifice and rebirth in the Christian year.
And we're going to look at a calendar, and I'm going to show you something. Because when you look at a calendar, brothers and sisters, you see the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, or Sunday. That's the first day of the week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, that's 7 days. That's what makes a week, 7 days. But you don't see anything in front of those days of the week. But here say the pagans, by a stroke of tactical genius, added things to the Christian calendar. Pagan festivals were added. Okay, then the first thing we read, the first name comes up was what?
Easter.
Easter. So it was added to the calendar. Easter Sunday. But without that word, you just have Sunday. It don't change. The day of the week is the same. Because God didn't use name, he used numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I want you to remember that. But since we're just dealing with how mankind evolved over the years, we have to deal with this. But in any case, continue to read.
For instance, a time of sacrifice and rebirth in the Christian year.
That's what Easter stood for, right? Okay, go ahead.
Takes its name from the Norse god Estera, in whose honor simply a northern version of the Phoenician earth mother Astarte, goddess of fertility. Easter eggs continue an age-old tradition in which the egg is a symbol of birth, and cakes which were eaten to mark the festival of Astarte and Estera were the direct ancestors of our hot cross buns.
So when you mention the word Easter, brothers and sisters, this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with pagan gods, idols. Okay? This is what you're dealing with. It was added to the Christian calendar. So instead of saying Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with respect to the time most people believe that the Messiah was crucified and resurrected, that's just placed right there on the calendar, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. However, then when you get to understanding that they added something to this, you're dealing with Easter here. And not only Easter, continue to read, we're going to see what else they added, but continue to read.
Since bishops were educated men at the time when education was a rarity, they became civil servants, chancellors, and secretaries to rulers.
And this means that those who were not educated, they believed whatever these people brought forth, brothers and sisters. And this kind of explains what's wrong with the world. Not the 99% that believes the Most High died Friday evening and rose Sunday morning. Not those, because I'm going to show you that they are accurate in their belief. I'm going to show you this. But go ahead, continue this.
Much of the history of medieval England, for instance, revolves around its bishops and archbishops, such as Augustine.
You know who Augustine is. Go ahead.
Stephen Langton and Thomas Becket. Many such men had a first loyalty to the Pope, not God.
To the who?
To the Pope.
To the Pope and not God. Go ahead.
Some, like Cardinal Wolsey, Henry VIII's chief minister for nearly 20 years, even had ambitions to be Pope themselves.
Okay, that's enough of that, but I just want to go in this last 2 million years and show you that, hey, Easter was added to the Christian calendar. It didn't belong there and still does. It was added. It has nothing to do with a Sunday as a whole or the day. You know what I'm saying? It was just added. This particular time, something happened and they put this word in front of it. It was a pagan holiday and they just added it to it.
And the entire festival itself was added.
Exactly. So what we're going to do now, I want to show you what else was added. Not only was Easter added to the Christian calendar, what else was added? We're going to go to some notes that I took off of Wikipedia about, what does it say here? Good Friday. Well, where did this come from? Okay, when you get to these notes, you can find it in Wikipedia. Just go in and type in Wikipedia and Good Friday and all kinds of information will pop up, brothers and sisters. And you'll be shocked at what you find if you just read it, okay, without being biased. Your eyes will be open. But anyway, read what we have here.
From the sense pious, holy, of the word good.
Of the word good. So they're saying that since they put that word good in front of Friday, it represents pious,
and holy.
Good and holy. Okay, go ahead.
Is a religious holiday observed primarily by Christians, commemorating the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and his death at Calvary.
So they're saying that Friday commemorates the crucifixion of you need to get this out of there, because that's what this is saying. Friday, and they put the word good in front of it, it commemorates the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
The holiday is observed during Holy Week as part of the Paschal Triduum on the Friday preceding Easter Sunday, and many coincide with the Jewish observance of Passover.
Of what?
Of Passover.
Of Passover, brother.
Now, this is the tactical genius
Exactly.
that they're talking about. Mainly that they replaced the Passover with this Christian holiday that was pagan.
That's right. But when you know what you're doing and you're dealing with brothers and sisters, you look beyond this and see the truth. Because Friday don't change. Saturday don't change. Sunday don't change, nor any of the other days of the week don't change. If these events happen on these days, that don't change. But by a stroke of tactical genius, he put one word in front of Friday, good, and one word in front of Sunday, Easter, and it's thrown the whole world off. They're totally confused. Because you see this word good, I don't want to deal with it. You see the word Easter, I don't want to deal. It was added. You know what it is? I'm talking about the world of the Hebrew Israelites. Because that's where I'm from, camps. And I was taught certain things, and I discovered after leaving that camp that most of the stuff I was taught about this was entirely wrong. And I'm going to read that out of the scriptures and show you. So I'm speaking in reference to that. But 99% of the world at large, and I agree with you, let me make that clear, they agree that the Most High died on a Friday and rose early Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. They believe that because it's written in the book. I'm going to show you this. Okay? But
and the fact that they decided to infuse pagan rites on these days doesn't change the fact that this is what happened.
Exactly. That is the entire point that we are making here. And you need to understand this. That is the point in all of this. Because it doesn't change that. And you let it, somehow you hear the word Easter, you just throw your hands up. You throw your hands up. Good Friday, you throw your hands up. But does the Bible say this? The Bible doesn't use good in front of Friday. It doesn't use Easter in front of Sunday. But we know where that came from. So when you just basically looking at the events and when it happened, you'll understand by continuing to read this. I want to continue to read this because we're going to keep talking about this before we get into this lesson. Start back up again and read that again. Where you left off at.
The holiday is observed during Holy Week as part of the Paschal Triduum on the Friday preceding Easter Sunday.
Go ahead.
And may coincide with the Jewish observance of Passover.
Passover. Go ahead.
It is also known as Holy Friday.
Not just Good Friday, Holy Friday. What else?
Great Friday.
Great Friday.
Black Friday.
What?
Black Friday.
Go ahead.
Or Easter Friday.
Even Easter Friday. Go ahead.
Though the latter properly refers to Friday in Easter week.
See, brothers and sisters, you don't understand what we just read here, but let me just break it down very quickly. This doesn't change the days that the Jewish people, the Hebrews, honored or celebrated the death of Christ, okay, or honored the death of Christ and his resurrection. That doesn't change simply because they added this pagan stuff to it at the same time or the same day.
And that was the whole point, to do it on the same day.
This is why they
mock the Jews.
Exactly. It doesn't change that it happened on these days. And you seem to think it does because Satan done fooled you and got you thinking that this messes the whole thing up, so don't believe the truth.
We're going to change everything. He died on a Wednesday.
Right. And that's messed up. You can't read that nowhere in the Bible, brothers and sisters, that the Most High was crucified on no Wednesday. Plus, if you say he was crucified on Wednesday, let me show you something right quick. If you say he was crucified on Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then you go Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning, and Sunday. Brothers and sisters, you got too many days. You don't know how the Bible calculates days or adds days. And we're going to show you this. You got too much time right there in itself. But the Bible never says that. We're going to show you that too. But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but we're simply making this point. It did not change the actual day that the Jews honored the death or crucifixion of Christ.
Or kept the Passover.
Or kept the Passover. That's the point here. Along with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They all went together. It didn't change anything, and we're going to show you that very clearly. That this is it. And finish reading this. Read down to another point. Go ahead.
And based on the canonical gospel, the crucifixion of Jesus was most likely to have been on a Friday.
Wait a minute. Based on what?
The canonical gospels.
Oh, so that's Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, brothers and sisters. This is what Wikipedia and everything else you hit Google, search it. It'll tell you the same thing. But how are you missing this? I don't understand it. And it gives a reference, John 19:42, doesn't it?
Yeah, they say that confirms that.
But continue reading.
The estimated year of the crucifixion was AD 33 by two different groups, and originally was AD 34 by Isaac Newton.
Go ahead.
Via a difference between the biblical and Julian calendar and the crescent of the moon.
Go ahead.
The third method, using a completely different astronomical approach based on a lunar crucifixion darkness and eclipse model, consistent with Apostle Peter's reference to a moon of blood in Acts 2:20.
You can read that, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
Points to Friday, 3 April AD 33.
And brothers and sisters, you know what? This year, 2015, I'm going to show you something. And you haven't even paid it no attention. This is a calendar here. And it's going to be up on the screen.
Yeah, 2015.
Okay. It's 2015. It says it right here. April 2015. And when you look at the 3rd here, it's Friday. And right up under here, you can't see this, but you'll see it on the screen. It says Good Friday. And you have Passover begins the 4th. And then you have Easter Sunday. But we understand this. We're going to explain this. My point is
that this particular year, we know that calendars, dates, and times repeat themselves after so many years. So this particular Friday,
2015,
the Passover fell the exact same time period that it fell in 33 AD.
When he was crucified. It comes back around, so many years. And this particular year in 2015 was the actual time in 33 AD that he was 33 AD after he was crucified.
On a Friday.
April. That's what we read here in Wikipedia when we looked it up. It said it in itself. It said Apostle Peter's reference to a moon of blood, Acts 2:20, points to Friday, the 3rd of April, AD 33. And on your calendar, 2015, here it is, Friday the 3rd, April 3rd, right here. The actual day that he was crucified. And this is what the Bible is going to tell you too, and been telling you. But you let pastors twist this thing for their own purpose. And you're not reading for yourselves. You're not studying for yourselves. You're just running with some preacher telling you something. And he might mean well. It's not necessarily he's trying to trick you. He might be stubborn in his ways, set in his ways, and refuse the truth of God like his ancestors did. That's what Hebrew Israelites love to do, brothers and sisters. They kick against the prick. They kick against the truth of God, and they're doing it today. You got modern-day Pharisees and Sadducees and their Essenes here today preaching this word out this book, and everything is messed up as it was back then. But specifically this. But this is very clear. It didn't change. Since when they added this pagan mess, it didn't change the actual day that the Messiah was crucified, brothers and sisters. And what we've read so far points to what? Friday. And we can read much, much more, but we're trying to just lay it out somewhat and get right into the scriptures where we can bear it out even through the scriptures and show you mathematically that it's written in the scriptures as well. When you understand the Hebrew culture, then you'll see what they're saying here in the Bible. But nevertheless, I think we've covered our intro into this. So what I want to do now is go right to the scriptures and kind of get into this lesson and see if we can show and prove that Friday evening to Sunday morning, 3 days and 3 nights. We're going to prove this to you, brothers and sisters. And you're going to prove it with us because you're going to read right along with us out of the Bible. Mm-hmm. And Jesus said, I come in the volume of the book. That means from Genesis to Revelation. We're going to show you this. And we're going to show you can get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday to Sunday. We're going to show you how that was done, and it's still being done, and how the Hebrews counted. And you even count this way yourselves, and you don't even know it. But in any case, let's get this lesson started. And let's go to the first place to establish something as well. We're going to go to Genesis 1, and we're going to go to verse 5. And this was established in the creation of our world, according to the Lord, God of Israel. He, when added together, what makes a full day. This is what you Hebrew Israelites can't get your mind around. What makes a full day? Remember that. It's very simple, brothers and sisters. When you get to verse 5, Genesis 1, verse 5, read what the Lord had Moses write.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. Day. How many hours in a day? 12, isn't it, brothers and sisters? And how many are in a night? 12. So when you combine them, that's 24 hours. That makes what? A full day. This is what you're reading here, but go ahead.
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
For the first day. This is not no 500 years half and half, like you're saying light, that's 500 years, and then another 500 years is day, which makes 1,000 years. Brothers and sisters, that don't make no sense at all. Because if you've been living on this planet, on this earth, you've seen nights come and days come, and both come and go. And they never added up to a total of 1,000 years. So what you think this is talking about? Wake up. Stop letting people give you things and you looking at the truth, and then you let them spin it on you and you start talking crazy. This is the first day. The evening and the morning were the first day. So a full or complete day established by God amounts to a total of 24 hours. Let's move on. Let's go now to Mark 15 and read something else. And we read into the Wikipedia. It said according to the canonical Gospels, it proved that the Most High was crucified on a Friday and rose on a Sunday. Because this is what this is going to tell you. But it say he was, and all 4 Gospels are going to say this. So let's go in the Gospels and see if we can pull this out of there. See if Wikipedia is telling the truth. And many other places you can go. So we're going to go to Mark 15, verse 34 to 37, and we're going to skip to 42. And this again establishes the precise day of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, brothers and sisters. This is why 99% of the people in the world believe this, as you should. Okay, when you get to 34, read.
And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying...
This was at 3 p.m. on a Friday. Evening, brothers and sisters, 3 p.m. evening. Remember that. Go ahead.
Saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Go ahead. He's speaking Arabic here. Go ahead.
And some of them that stood by, when they heard it, said, Behold, he calleth Elias. And one ran and filled a sponge full of vinegar, and put it on a reed, and gave him to drink, saying, Let alone, let us see whether Elias will come and take him down.
Go ahead.
And Jesus cried with a loud voice and gave up the ghost.
He gave up his soul, his spirit, brothers and sisters. It came out of his body. Skip down to verse 42 and continue this.
And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation.
The preparation. Go ahead.
That is the day before the Sabbath.
Now wait a minute. Let me ask you something. All while you've been alive, you Hebrew Israelites know that Friday is the day before what?
The Sabbath.
The Sabbath. You know this. What is this saying right here?
That's what it's saying.
It's the preparation day. We're going to read this out of the law. But it's the preparation day. That means you prepare everything you need so you don't break the law. You don't sin against God. You get all your cooking done and whatnot and things you're going to eat. You prepare all that the day before the Sabbath, which is that Friday, before sundown.
And it is not the preparation for the unleavened bread holiday.
It's
feast.
It's not. This is talking about, he say, because it was the preparation, that is, and we're talking what day in terms of numbers. It was the 6th day of the week, brothers and sisters. Is that not true?
Yeah.
That's what it is. He said the day before the Sabbath. What's that? The weekly Sabbath, the 7th-day Sabbath, brothers. And we're going to prove this to you further. But this is what you've been reading here all this time. All right. And like I said, this is the preparation day was the 6th day of the week, which is a Friday. Always has been since the law was given to Israel.
And always will be.
And always will be. This was established in the creation of God, brothers and sisters. And man put the names on them. We don't want to talk about where the names come from. That's irrelevant. But this is what we're talking about. Is take a look at now that's one of the Gospels. This is the Gospel of who? John? No. This is the Gospel of Mark. Mark confirms this. What we read out of Wikipedia. Now let's move on. Let's go now to John and see what he says. We're going to go to John 19. We're going to read 28 to the 31, skip to the 34, then to the 41, and read to the 42. Then we're going to double back to the 14 for a reason. But let's see if John agrees with Mark here, which further establishes the right day of our Messiah's crucifixion. The 6th day is Friday all day long, brothers and sisters. Go ahead when you get to the 28th verse in John. Read.
After this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, said, I thirst. Now there was set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with vinegar.
This is what they did, excuse me, because they say that the scriptures might be fulfilled. Okay, all scripture. But anyway, finished. I started over and they filled. Started it right there, and they filled a sponge with vinegar.
And they filled a sponge with vinegar and put it upon hyssop and put it to his mouth.
Go ahead.
When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished.
It is finished? What's finished? You don't even understand this, but I'm going to just tell you right quick. The fulfillment of one thing, your debt was paid. The debt that you owe the Father. Jesus paid it with his life, brothers and sisters. This is what this means. It is finished. He died for your what?
Sins.
Your sins. This is what this means right here when he said it is finished. Your debt was paid by him. You belong to him. So why won't you believe his truth? It's written all in the Gospels. But go ahead and read it. It says it is finished. Go ahead.
And he bowed his head and gave up the ghost.
Gave up his spirit, came out of his body, his breath, took his last breath. Go ahead.
The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation.
Wait a minute. The preparation is what, brothers and sisters?
The day before the Sabbath.
The day before the 7th-day weekly Sabbath. Always has been and always will be. This is what you're reading here. The preparation day, you prepare everything you're going to deal with for the Sabbath the day before so you don't break the law. Ain't this what they're saying? Go ahead.
That the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day.
Wait a minute. That the body, Jesus' body, should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day. So, you know what this is saying? The preparation day was the 6th day, which was Friday. That was Friday evening, Friday night. So he couldn't stay on that past sundown. So they had to take him off the cross before Saturday came in, brothers and sisters, which was what? The Sabbath day. So this is telling you that, hey, he couldn't remain on the cross at the beginning of the Sabbath. He had to be taken down that same day, preparation day, before the Sabbath came in, weekly Sabbath here. But also something else was happening here as well, because what this is saying, brothers and sisters, is that his body was taken down just before the weekly Sabbath came in, the seventh day, because we have established that the preparation day is the sixth day. And so the seventh day is the Sabbath day, the Sabbath of the Lord. And his body could not be on that cross on the seventh day. We also know that that was also the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Mm-hmm. This is what this is telling you as well. We're going to show you this. Mm-hmm. But anyway, continue to read.
For that Sabbath day was an high day.
It was the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
That's right. It's not saying that the high day was a Sabbath. No, because that's the way people have been taking it. Like, oh, the Lord has more than one Sabbath. That was just the Sabbath of the unleavened bread. No, it was a Sabbath day that was also a high day.
It's all that simple, brothers. And this is what you've been reading all this time. You had the seventh day. We already established that the preparation day is the sixth day. That Friday, he was crucified. And he was taken off the cross before the weekly Sabbath came in to play. But we also had a high Sabbath, which was the beginning of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Right there, that Saturday, the seventh day. Mm-hmm. This is what you're reading here. Go ahead.
For that Sabbath day was an high day. Besought Pilate that their legs might be broken, and that they might be taken away.
Well, we know that didn't happen. But go ahead, skip to verse 34 and read that.
But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith there came out blood and water.
They wanted to see if he was dead. Simple as that. All right, skip to 41. We're going to read 41 and 42. Go ahead.
Now in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre wherein was never man yet laid.
Go ahead.
There laid they Jesus, therefore because of the Jews' preparation day.
Of the preparation day. They laid his body in this tomb, if you will, because of the Jews' preparation day. They had to get it in there before what? The Sabbath came in. The seventh day, brothers and sisters. This is what you've been reading all this time. And it says that there laid they Jesus, his body, therefore because of the Jews' preparation day. Go ahead.
For the sepulchre was nigh at hand.
Go ahead.
That just tells you that it was expedient because they had to do something quickly.
Exactly. And we're going to further show you this as we go on. Now skip back to verse 14 in the same chapter and read verse 14. And this is after they beat Christ and put a crown of thorns on his head, and Pilate still wanted to release him, free him, but the Jews wasn't having it. And all these things happened on what day though? This was the 14th day of the month Abib, my brothers and sisters, which happened to be on the preparation day. Also, that 14th day, according to the law, is the Passover, is it not? It's what you've been reading here. And it's also the sixth day, which we already showed you. This is the day before the seventh day. And we also had, at that time of his crucifixion, it was also a high day. At the same time on the Sabbath day. The Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay? This is what we're talking about here. So when you get to that, read that verse, that 14th verse.
And it was the preparation of the Passover.
Go ahead.
And about the 6th hour, and he said unto the Jews, behold your king.
And they crucified Jesus on the 6th day. Okay?
At the 9th hour, so 3 hours later from this point, he was crucified.
It's all that simple. This is what this is said. This is what you're reading here. But we have proven thus far, and we want you to hang in there and stay with us, read along with us. The 6th day, brothers and sisters, the preparation day has always been a Friday. The day before the 7th day. That's what the law will tell you as well. We're going to read that. Let's go now to Luke. Mm-hmm. We've read Mark. We've read John. So now we're going to read Luke and see if he's consistent with what we read out of Wikipedia. When you get there, because this is going to show you something else. This is the Gospel of Luke, and they returned home and rested. Okay? Because the Sabbath had begun at sunset. This is what you're going to read here. But go ahead. 50, we're going to go to Luke 23, and we're going to read 50 to the 56. When you get to verse 50, read.
And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was a good man and a just. The same had not consented to the counsel and deed of them. So
he was not partaking of this crucifying of Christ. He had nothing to do with that. Go ahead.
He was of Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God.
So this man was a believer in Christ, and what he preached and taught. Go ahead.
This man went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus, and he took it down and wrapped it in linen.
Wait a minute. He took it. What day was this? When he took it down?
On the 6th day.
On the 6th day, brothers, it had to be. That same Friday, that same preparation day that you've been reading all these years, this is what this is telling you. And this is what we have read and will continue to read. You can't get around this. Accept it. Stop kicking against the truth of God. Go ahead.
And laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone.
Go ahead.
Wherein never a man before was laid.
Go ahead.
And that day was the preparation.
We keep reading this. We keep reading the preparation. When do you prepare for the Sabbath? Is it on a Wednesday?
No.
Can't be. It's got to be the day before the 7th day. It has to be on the 6th day. And that's always Friday, brothers and sisters. You do it now. Running to the store before sundown Friday. You've been doing it since you come into some understanding of the scriptures. You're still doing it. Breaking your neck to get to the store and get back home before the sun go down and the Sabbath kicks in. And you've been looking at this and saying something else. You let somebody tell you something else. How is that possible? Go ahead. It say, and that day was the preparation day, which we know to be the 6th day, Friday, the day before the Sabbath. Go ahead.
And the Sabbath drew on.
What Sabbath drew on?
The 7th day.
The 7th day drew on. Knowing also that this was the Passover, they also knew that they had a high Sabbath and unleavened was drawn on as well. This is the way it fell that year he was crucified. Go ahead.
And the women also, which came with him from Galilee, followed after, and behold, the sepulchre and how his body was laid.
Okay, now how was his body laid? Continue to read.
And they returned and prepared spices and ointments and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment.
Wait a minute. They prepared spices, but it's obvious they didn't get a chance to wrap them spices up with his body. Why? They returned home, obviously, and what? And rested the Sabbath day, which is the 7th day, according to that commandment. Why in the world we get a commandment to rest on the 7th day?
That's one of the 10.
I wonder who would command us that the Sabbath is a day of rest, and that's what we do on that day. I wonder where that came from. People, You have been reading this and you're letting these pastors confuse you and make something very simple complicated. It's not so much as what Satan the devil did as we read out of the last 2 million years. You let pastors continue to do this nowadays. And this stuff is right in front of you and you can stop this. You can find the truth and we're showing it to you. It's up to you to accept it. It don't change. You can Google this stuff and it'll tell you the same thing we're telling you. But anyway, let's do something right quick. Because we know the preparation day was the 6th day, and it said the Sabbath drew near. Well, the 6th day was that Friday, and the Sabbath has always been a Saturday. You know that. So anyway, let's check something out. It said the women rested on that day according to the commandment. Let's go back and read that commandment out of the law to confirm this. So that preparation day is by name Friday. Okay, well, let's go in the law and read something. Let's go to Leviticus 23. We're going to read verse 3 and verse 6. But this is going to show you something. When you get to verse 3, read.
6 days shall work be done.
Wait a minute. 6 days shall work be done. What's the first day of the week?
Sunday.
Okay, so Sunday, Monday, we're going to do this like we in kindergarten, brothers. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's 5 days. And Friday is
the 6th day.
6th day, brothers and sisters. Count it on your fingers and see if you come up with the same thing. This all you had to do was get this stuff right. It's just use some just general and simple stuff, simple reasoning. So, it says 6 days shall work be done. But, so if Friday is the 6th day, read that next line.
But the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest.
The 7th day is, when is, I'm asking you, you Hebrew Israelites, when is the true Sabbath of rest for the God of Israel, the God of this Bible? You tell me. If you ain't saying Saturday, then you don't have no understanding. But I know you are. We're talking Saturday here, are we not? The 7th day is Sabbath. That's the Sabbath of rest. Go ahead.
And holy convocation.
That's the day you have a holy convocation. You get a holy gathering. Go ahead.
Ye shall do no work therein.
That's the day you were commanded not to do no work. Go ahead.
It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
Go ahead.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened.
Okay. Now, if that Friday was the 14th day, brothers and sisters, and that Sabbath was a high Sabbath, we're talking about like when Most High was crucified, that Sabbath was the 15th day then,
Yes,
was it not? It was the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we reading here. Go ahead. And on the 15th.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
Brothers, this is where they got that law from. Okay, that we read in the Gospels.
And also they said, and this Sabbath was a high day.
The high day, this Sabbath.
Because it was the 15th of the month.
That's right. This is what you've been reading all this time, brothers and sisters. You can't get around this. Okay? Israel was commanded to rest on the 7th day, which we know to be a Saturday, the weekly Sabbath. And this particular year of the crucifixion of Christ, we know that that preparation day was the 6th day, that Friday, and the 7th day was a high Sabbath as well. It was the first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread. It was a Saturday. It was also the weekly Sabbath as well. You can't get around this. This is in the scriptures, brothers. This is what we've been reading here. This is why 99% of the people believe this. We've confirmed it in the Gospels. The Gospels agree. What we read out of Wikipedia, they agree wholeheartedly. Where you think they got it from?
Right here.
Right
in the Bible.
It's all that simple. Why do you think they believe, 99% of people believe that from Friday evening to Sunday morning is 3 days and 3 nights? Where did they get it from? out of the Bible, and we're going to show you this. This is why 99% of the world believes this. Just remove all the pagan foolishness that was added by Satan and his ministers, and you got the truth right in front of you. Take the word good, Friday. All you got to do is remove good. What you have? Friday. You take the word Sunday, the day of his resurrection, and remove the word what? Easter? Remove it. What do you have? Sunday. Because if Friday was the 14th day of the first month, Abib, the Passover, and Saturday was a high Sabbath, the first of unleavened bread, which was the 15th day, okay, and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and that Sunday was the 16th. You know why that is? Because it's the first fruits, brothers and sisters. The 16th is always the first fruit. It's in the law. This is why this is accurate. This is why it's the truth of God. You cannot get around it. You can change it all you want to, but we're going to read you the truth today and we're going to tell it to you. Anyway, what we're going to do now, what we've read thus far, try to refute it.
And one thing you just said, that the 16th was the first fruits, and from where I used to go, they taught that he rose on at the end of the Sabbath just before sundown, which would have been the 15th day.
Exactly.
There's no way he could have risen on the 15th day if he's the first fruit.
It's all that simple. He is the first fruits. In many ways, the book references Christ as the first fruit in many ways. He's the first of the dead. In other words, of this new generation of creatures, the firstborn from the dead. You can look at it from that aspect and many, many more. But we're not going to get too far off because I want to stick to this. I want to show you this. You can reference it. Christ is our first fruits. Okay, let's go on. We're going to move on. Let's go to Exodus 16. And let me show you something here. Because we were talking about that preparation. Where did it come from? It came out of the law. It was a commandment. Brothers and sisters, we read that in the Gospels, and this is where that commandment came from. We're going to go to Exodus 16 and 16. Then we're going to go to the 22nd and read the 22 and the 23. Skip to the 25 and read that, and the 26. And then skip to the 29 and read the 30. So we're going to read all this, and we're going to get something out of here. Let's see what Moses commanded them to do. Okay? Moses gave Israel this commandment via the God of Israel, brothers and sisters. This is where all this came from. Okay? This is where you get this preparation day from. And we're going to see, because this involves the bread that fell from heaven, manna. And we're going to see what they were commanded to do concerning this manna. But go ahead, when you get to 16, read.
This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded.
And read that again. Because I want you to understand this. This ain't the thing that your pastor or your preacher has commanded. This is the thing that the Lord has commanded. Remember that. Go ahead.
This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Gather it of it every man according to his eating.
This is that manna. Go ahead.
And Omar for every man according to the number of your person.
Go ahead.
Take ye every man for them which are in his tent.
In his tent. Skip to 22. We're going to read 22 and 23.
And it came to pass that on the 6th day.
Wait a minute. On what day?
The 6th day.
The 6th day. Brothers and sisters, do I have to ask you again when the 6th day? What is the 6th day? It's the day before the 7th day. We just deal with numbers now. We don't deal with the names. But we know as time evolved over years and centuries, they were given names. These days were given names. So the 6th day has evolved into what we call Friday. And the 7th day has evolved into what we call Saturday, the Sabbath day. And you Hebrew Israelites know this. Okay, but this is where we got this from. Go ahead and read and start it again right at the top.
And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread.
Go ahead.
2 omars for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses.
Go ahead.
And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said.
Now I want you to read that line one more time so we'll know where this came from. It didn't come from Moses or any other man. Because remember we read at the top, this is the thing which who? The Lord commanded. And now we're reading again. It says, go ahead and read that.
And he said unto them.
Now back up and read that before.
And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omars for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses.
All the rulers came and told Moses. I'm reading this again for a reason. Go ahead.
And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said.
This is that which the Lord hath said. Now go on. What did he say?
Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord.
He's telling them this on what day?
On the 6th.
On the 6th day. The day before what?
The Sabbath.
The Sabbath, brother, which is tomorrow or tomorrow. This is what you're reading here. The 6th day has always been what we know today as Friday. Simple as that. The same day that the Most High was crucified. What we read in the Gospels. But go ahead and finish this. Go ahead.
Bake that which ye will bake today.
On the 6th day. Go ahead.
And seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning.
Okay, skip 25. We're going to read 25 and 26.
And Moses said, eat that today.
Which, okay, what day is this? Go ahead and read.
For today is a Sabbath unto the Lord.
So this was the 7th day. They went from the 6th to the 7th day. 6th day is the preparation day. The 7th day is the holy Sabbath of the Lord, brothers and sisters. We're reading this out of the law. And who told Moses to do this? This is the thing that the Lord has commanded. So that's where that commandment came from. Go ahead.
Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it.
Go ahead.
But on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none.
And the 7th day we know, brothers and sisters, today as Saturday. Can't get around it. So there's no way that the 6th day would not be Friday. If Saturday is the 7th day, the day before that has to be the 6th day, but by name is Friday. That's what we call it. That's what it evolved into becoming. They gave it that name. We don't care about what it is. We ain't talking about it being pagan. We're not talking about that. That's how you get thrown off. You mix too many things into just simplicity. Simple things to let you know. We're talking about one thing here. When the Most High was crucified, what day it was. And we're going to show you what day it was, and we're going to show you the day he resurrected, and we're going to show you how you get 3 days and 3 nights. Very simple. You've been doing it yourselves. You're still doing it to this day. And you don't know it because you don't know nothing about your history and how your forefathers count and how we count and how all the world counts. It's a very normal thing. Anyway, continue. We're going to skip now verse 29 and 30. Read 29.
See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days.
So in 6 days, he give you the bread for 2 days to prepare for the 7th day. That's what they were doing in the Gospels. Trying to hurry up and get Jesus' body ready and put it in the sepulchre and whatnot before the Sabbath came in. That's why they call it the preparation day in the Gospels. Same thing right here, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day.
Go ahead, because it's the Sabbath of what? Rest. Go ahead.
So the people rested on the seventh day.
Didn't it say the women rested?
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're reading this. This is why it was written in the gospel, because it was the law, brothers and sisters. Let's continue looking at this. Let's move on. Let's go to Leviticus 23, and we're going to read 4 to the 6 and establish, and keep on establishing this, because I want it to be as clear as possible to you. What you've been reading, and you let people just simply go in and just mess up and twist up, and you don't understand something that's very plain, very simple. Now all these people adding to the word of God when the law tell you don't add or take away from God's word, and you sit right there in front of them and let them do it every Sabbath. And don't open your mouth because you're scared of getting kicked out. You're not going to have no friends. Your friend should be God, the Lord God of Israel. If you got him as a friend, I don't see what's necessary. If God is your friend, then what you worried about? If he's pleased with what you do, what is there to be concerned about? Don't worry about what no flesh says. Okay? But this is what you do, and you lose sight of the prize. This is what you've done. But anyway, we're going to go to Leviticus 23, and we're going to read verse 4 when you get there, because this is talking about something. This is going to confirm something else. This is the way these days fell in the year that Jesus Christ was crucified. When you get to verse 4, read.
These are the feasts of the Lord.
Go ahead.
Even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season.
Go ahead.
In the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover.
Now, this is, when we got in the Gospels, this was the 14th day, was the Passover. It was that Friday. Simple as that. Preparation day. Go ahead.
On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord.
And this was that high Sabbath they spoke about in the Gospels. It was the Saturday, the Sabbath, it was the weekly Sabbath, but it also was the 15th day of that month, that first month, which was the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And that Sunday, when it tells you, we're going to read this later on, when he resurrected, that Sunday, okay, that was the third day. It was the 16th day. It was the first fruits, brothers and sisters. You can't get around this. This is the law. You can't get around it. You can't mess this up and go to talking about he was crucified on Wednesday, or he was crucified on Thursday, or Tuesday, and all. No. That ain't what the book is telling you. We're going to straighten this out. We're going to show you this. But anyway, did you finish that?
7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
That's correct. Let me show you why you can't refute this. Let's go into one of my favorite dictionaries. This is the Smith's Bible Dictionary, but I'm going to read it out of Nelson's Quick Reference Bible Dictionary on page 194. And we're going to look up something. The first fruits. Because we're going to show you what day the first fruits fall on, to fall right in line with what we've been reading. So with the 14th day, which is the Passover, the 15th day, the first day of unleavened bread, and that year was also on the Sabbath day, that year he was crucified, and the next day, that Sunday, it was the first fruits. Because it was the 16th, and we're going to show you that. You can't get around it. When you get to that, read the definition of the first fruits.
First fruits. The law ordered in general that the first of all ripe fruits and of liquors, or as it is twice expressed, the first of first fruits, should be offered in God's house. In the temple, or in that time was the tabernacle.
Same thing. It has to be offered. And if you took it in God's house, who did you have to give it to? You had to give it to the Levites, the priests, brothers and sisters. But anyway, and you can go to Exodus 22 and read 29, Exodus 23, and so forth, and read this 19, Exodus 34 and 27, read the same thing, but continue to read.
It was an act of allegiance to God as the giver of all.
That's right. Go ahead.
No exact quantity was commanded, but it was left to the spiritual and moral sense of each individual.
Go ahead.
On the morrow after the Passover Sabbath,
Let's look at this. On the morrow after the Passover. So we got the Passover, which is the 14th day, and the morrow after the Passover has to be the 7th day, right? It has to be the Sabbath, which is the 15th day, which is the first day of unleavened bread. This is what we're reading in this definition. Go ahead.
On the 16th of Nisan, Abib, a sheaf of new corn was to be brought to the priest and weighed before the altar in acknowledgement of the gift of fruitfulness.
This is, you can read that in Leviticus 2, brothers and sisters, Leviticus 23, which we read, and you go in there and search this out and read this. And you can read also in Leviticus in the 3rd chapter and so forth. So what this is saying, brothers and sisters, this definition just bears out what we've been saying thus far. The first fruits falls on the 16th of the month Abib. So we have shown you thus far that the preparation day fell on a Friday. It wasn't Friday. That was the evening that the Most High was crucified. Then the next day, Saturday, it was a Sabbath and a high Sabbath, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and that was the 15th day of the month Abib. Passover falls on the 14th day, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the 15th day, and the first fruit definition just told us, according to the law, it falls on what day? The 16th day of the first month. So we have all three of them in line here. And this is the way it fell when the year Christ was crucified. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 14th, 15th, and 16th day. The first, second, and third, because he told you he was going to rise from the dead or be risen from the dead on what day? The third day.
Third day.
He couldn't go beyond that, brothers and sisters, and this is what you've been reading. And it says that, but you don't understand how to break this stuff down. And you can confirm this by reading Leviticus 23, 9 to 11. Okay, that the first fruits is offered on the 16th day of that month, of the first month. It's always on the first month. 16th day of the month Abib. That hasn't changed either. Okay, but now you have to ask yourself, are we in our land today? No, we're not. According to just common sense, we're not. Okay? And you have to bring this first fruit, this basket of fruit, to who?
The priest.
The priests, the Levites. When the last time you did this? Think about what I just asked you. When the last time you brought anything before the Levite, the priest, in the temple of God, before the altar of God? That was destroyed in 70 AD. Think about what I'm saying. But anyway, let's keep it moving. And these first fruits, as I said earlier, represent Jesus. And can be confirmed also by going into John 20 and reading the 16th and 17th verse. We're going to go into John 20, since I mentioned that. We're going to read 1 and 2, and then 18. And Jesus rose on the day of the first fruits, which was that Sunday, which was the 16th day of that month. Had to. Can't get around this. Okay? And that was that Sunday, the third day of his death. And we're going to prove this to you. Anyway, when we get to verse 1, read.
The first day of the week.
Wait a minute. The first day of the week. This happens to be what they call Sunday. Okay? But we also know the first day of the week, according to the Lord's identity, the way he identified the days was number 1. However, we got to keep in mind that if Jesus died on the 14th day, which was that Friday, and the 15th day was Saturday, okay, and that Sunday, rather, was the 16th day, you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is the first day of the week. The first day of the week is Sunday. This is all it's saying right here. The first day of the week, Sunday, which was the 16th that year. That's what this is saying. Who came?
The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early.
Early, go ahead.
When it was yet dark.
Go ahead.
Unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. She then runneth and cometh to Simon Peter and to the other disciples whom Jesus loved.
And the Hebrews make a big deal. It was yet dark. See, it was yet dark. Brothers and sisters, when the Sabbath day comes in,
It's dark.
It's dark. What's the problem? You didn't make no big issue out of that. It was yet dark. When the Sabbath begins on a Friday, it's dark. Is it not? It begins a day.
Because as you read at the beginning, the night and the morning.
The evening and the morning. The evening and the morning.
So the evening comes first.
It's all it's simple. That's written back in the creation. So don't make no big out. She was yet dark. Come on. Go ahead, continue reading this.
They have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre.
So she thought they had took his body away. Go ahead.
And we know not where they have laid him.
She laid his body. So now skip to 18.
Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord. And
wait a minute. If she had seen him, that means he had rose. On what day?
The first.
The first day, which was the 16th day it was the third day of his crucifixion. This is what you're reading here, brothers and sisters. You got to get all of this stuff straight in your mind and don't be confused, because it's right here in the book. If you understand the crucifixion of Christ and so forth, you can just place this stuff right where it belongs. It said, and she had seen the Lord, meaning he rose on the first day of the week. Go ahead.
And that he had spoken these things unto her.
And remember, we read in the definition of the first fruits that it fell on the 16th day of the month, which is the first fruits. And that year of his crucifixion, that happened to be on a Sunday. First day of the week. The third day of his crucifixion. Simple as that. So what we're going to do now is continue to bear this out. Because all you got to do is bag up. Okay? Sunday the first day. Okay, of the week. But then when you understand what you're dealing with, you say Sunday was the 16th day, the first fruits. Which was also the third day of his death, of his crucifixion, which he happened to be risen. Then you bag up Saturday. Where was he at? The first day, he was of his death. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You have to look at these sequences and get this stuff together. He was crucified on a Friday, not a Wednesday. Saturday, his grave, his body was still in the grave. Or something, or if you want a tomb, and he rose on the 16th, the first fruits. That's Sunday. Just like the Bible says. Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's go to John. Stay in John 20. We're going to go to, let's read John 20. We're going to read 19 and 20, 24, 26, and 31. When you get to the 19th verse, read.
Then the same day at evening.
Wait a minute. The same day. This is Sunday, is it not? The day of the first fruits, brothers. The 16th day of the month. This is what we're talking about here. Then the same day, Sunday, the day he rose. Okay, go ahead.
Being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews.
Go ahead.
Came Jesus and stood in the midst.
This proved he had risen. Does this prove it? He came. How could he come if he had risen? This is on the first day of the week, brothers and sisters. The 16th day of the month. The third day since he was crucified. Go ahead.
And said unto them, Peace be unto you.
Go ahead.
And when he had so said, he showed unto them his hands and his side.
Go ahead.
Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord.
Skip to 24 and read.
But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Jesus came.
And what day did he come? On the third day. The 16th day, the first fruits, Sunday. First day of the week. Go ahead, skip to verse 26 and read.
After 8 days, again his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Jesus, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, Peace be unto you.
Okay, now skip to verse 31 and read that.
But these were written that ye might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing ye might have life through his name.
You better remember what we just read in this 31st verse, brothers and sisters, because you haven't been believing what you've been reading. You letting people twist this and give you something all together. He was crucified on a Wednesday. You can't read that in this book, and I'm going to show you this. He wasn't crucified on no Thursday or no Tuesday. You can't read none of that. You have to deal with what we've been reading because it's the truth. But you have to believe this. Because if you don't believe in Jesus Christ. You don't believe he's the Son of God. And if he didn't die, as we have been explaining to you, he wasn't the Messiah, the prophesied Messiah to come. He wasn't. So we had to look for somebody else. But who else can we find in history that went through what he went through? This is the true Son of God, brothers and sisters. But you haven't been believing that, because when you let somebody take you away from what we've shown you thus far, you don't believe what you've been reading out of this book. And that's evident. You believe what people have been telling you. It sounds good, but if you start investigating and pulling these little strings and pieces of thread on that stuff they're telling you, to fall apart so fast, so quick, and disintegrate, because it's not the truth. It doesn't stand like the Lord's word. Anyway, we're going to go back to Luke, and we're going to go to the 24th chapter, and we're going to read verse 1 and continue this. Skip to the 4 and read to the 8, and then skip to the 13 and read to the 21. We're still looking at the death and resurrection of Christ, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And the third day now, we're trying to let you see, which we have shown you, it was the 16th day of the month, the first fruits. It was the first day of the week, Sunday, the third day of his crucifixion. He rose. He was out of the grave, because he walked up to the disciples when they was all in the room and said, Peace be unto y'all. Hey. And people are not paying any attention to this, because he came to them on the third day, but Thomas was not with him. So 8 days later, he showed up. And that's when he dealt with Thomas. But anyway, when you get to Luke 24 and 1, read.
Now upon the first day of the week.
Wait a minute. How many times do we have to read this before you believe what you read? Read that again, because I want to make sure you can't change this. You can't listen to somebody else's variation of what, no, it says what it says, and it means what it says. Read that again.
Now upon the first day of the week,
which is the 16th day of the month, which happens to be on a Sunday. That's where it fell again, that he was crucified, brothers and sisters. This is the third day of his crucifixion, and he had risen. But go ahead.
Very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them.
Wait a minute. Well, that means that they had these spices we read earlier on the preparation day, but could not wrap them with Jesus' body.
Because the Sabbath came.
Because the Sabbath came. So this is when? After the Sabbath.
It had to be after sundown Saturday.
It's all that simple. This is what you're reading here. They couldn't. You can go back and read it. They couldn't apply them when They wanted to because they ran out of time. Sabbath
They
was
only
drawing
had
near.
enough time to prepare it and then stop and
The
rest.
Sabbath was drawing near, so they couldn't apply them. They couldn't wrap it up in Jesus' body. So when they came to this subject, they was expecting the Messiah to be stinking. But if you really want to think about it, because they figured his body's going to be in that and decaying and whatnot. So, but yet still, this is what you're reading here. But let's skip down to verse.
I didn't finish.
Oh, okay, finish that.
And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre.
Okay. Now skip to verse 4 and read 4 to 8.
And it came to pass, as they were much perplexed thereabout,
What's perplexed?
confused,
You're confused. You don't
Puzzled.
understand. You're puzzled about something. Go ahead.
behold, two men stood by them in shining garments.
They say it says also they were much perplexed thereabout. Behold, two men stood. Go ahead.
And as they were afraid and bowed down their faces to the earth, they said unto them, Why seek ye the living among the
They
dead?
thought these were ghosts. That's what they shining garments. That's what they were looking. That's why they were afraid. Wouldn't you be afraid? You saw two images of two men standing and they glowing white. You'd be afraid too. But anyway, they thought these were ghosts. That's all it was. But anyway, continue to read.
He is not here.
So they told him, these are angels, brothers and sisters. You know that. They told him he's not here. But what day is this?
This is the first day.
This is the first day of the week, the 16th day, which is the first fruits. This is also the third day of his crucifixion. He told you, kept telling his disciples, he's going to be killed, but he's also going to rise on the third day. You can read that all through the Gospels. But anyway, go ahead. He's not here. That's what the angel said.
But is risen.
Uh-huh.
Remember how he spake unto you when he was yet in Galilee,
Go ahead.
saying, The Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men, and be crucified, and the third day rise again.
What day is this?
The third day.
The third day, brothers and sisters. This is what you've been reading, and you've been rejecting this. The 14th day of the year, that year the Messiah was crucified, 33 AD. That day he was crucified was a Friday. Historians will tell you this. You can find it and when you reference, Google it, it'll tell you the same thing in the Bible. That's where they got it from, out of the Bible. That was a Friday, that Friday evening, the preparation day, 14th day of the month. Then Saturday, first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the 15th day. It was a high Sabbath, also the weekly Sabbath. Then the 16th day, the first fruits was, and we talking the first day of his death, the second day of his death, and the third day, the 16th day, he rose on that Sunday, which was the 16th day, the first fruits. And this is what we read right here, the third day. Go ahead.
And they remembered his words.
They remembered his words, and this was still the third day, brothers and sisters. Skip down to 13 and start reading it. We're going to read to 21.
And behold, two of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus.
Okay, wait a minute. That same day would still be the third day, brothers and sisters, the day of his resurrection. That's Sunday, the 16th day, the first fruits. This is what you've been reading about. This is what this is. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can't get around this. Okay, continue to read this.
Which was from Jerusalem about 60 furlongs.
Go ahead.
And they talked together of all these things which had happened.
So you got two of his believers, they walking together, they rapping about what had happened to Christ and whatnot, and they, they distraught and so on. So go ahead, this is that conversation going on. But remember, Jesus has risen. This is the third day. He promised them and told them that he was going to rise on the third day. No matter what they did to him, he was going to be risen on the third day. And he's going to, prove that to them. Look at this right here. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near.
Okay, now, still, this is the third day. That's Sunday, the first day of the week. The 16th day, which is the first fruits. The second day of, this is another thing you don't understand. This is the second day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Because the first day was that 15th day. So this has to be the second day of unleavened bread. And it surely was. But go ahead.
And went with them.
So Jesus is walking with them now. Go ahead.
But their eyes were holden that they should not know him.
So that means that he had put something on them, and it was their vision was not strong enough to recognize him. When they looked at him, they couldn't recognize him. Okay, go ahead.
And he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that ye have one to another as ye walk? Are sad.
Because they were broken up by what happened to Christ. Go ahead. They the leader. This was their leader. Go ahead.
And the one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answering said unto him, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem?
Man, where you been? You don't know what happened, man. Come on. So they were like, turning around and just snapped on him a little bit, but not too bad. It was, dude, you a stranger, you don't know what's going on? Go ahead.
And has not known these things which are come to pass there in these days? And he said unto them, what things?
And Jesus acted like he don't know no. What things, man? What you talking about, bro? Go ahead.
And they said unto him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God, and all the people.
It sure was. Go ahead.
And how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death.
And they condemning you to death by teaching you what's contrary, to the book. That's what they've been doing all this time, teaching you that he was crucified on a Wednesday. You can't read that in the Bible. He wasn't crucified on a Wednesday, brothers and sisters. I'm going to show you this. And no other day, but the one that's written in this book. And we found out which one that was at the very outset of this lesson. It was a preparation day, which happened to be a Friday that year of his crucifixion. The 14th day of the month Abib is the Passover. Go ahead.
And have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And beside all this, today is the third day since these things were done.
How many times do we have to read this? What day was that?
The third day.
The third day. Just like he told them he was going to rise or be risen or be resurrected on the third day after they did all that they did to him. And we read this ready confirmation, and you keep kicking against this. What's wrong with you? Don't you fear God? That's who you better start fearing instead of worrying about some pastor or some preacher. You better start fearing this God. If you believe that there's a God and you believe he is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, we're not even dealing with the Father. We're just going to deal with his Son. Because he's the door. Then you had better understand what he has promised you if you are okay or you walk right. But then he has also promised you something if you walk contrary to uprightness. And you better figure out which one you want. And I think you need to get to doing that, because if you won't believe something contrary to what we're showing you, then Jesus Christ is not your Savior. He didn't die for your sins. You're going to die for them. It's as simple as that. So it's saying right here, and he said, hey, and he did redeem them. He redeemed them with his blood. They didn't understand that.
Well, they didn't know who they were looking at.
It's right, but I'm just saying in general, he did redeem them. But they were talking in a physical sense that he was going to bring Israel back into power and all that. But he had redeemed them by the giving of his life, as he has us as well. And you are rejecting that by saying he didn't die on preparation day. He died on a Wednesday. Some people say Tuesday, some say Thursday. You have all kind of days. And what does this book say? Along with all the bona fide research you can do, it lines up with the Bible. That's why 99% of the world believed that,
or believe
that Friday evening to Sunday morning is 3 days and 3 nights. And we're going to show you how to do that. Okay, just like the Bible. We're going to read it out of the Bible. We ain't going to make it up. It's written in the Bible. We're going to show you who it came from. It's a method of counting that the Hebrews used. Okay? Well, anyway, let's move on now. This is a question about that very subject. You know, how can you get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday evening to Sunday morning? Okay? And that's why I spoke on that. But look, we're going to start showing you that. We're going to go back to Exodus 19. We're going to read verse 3, 10 and 11, and 15 and 16. And first of all, we're going to establish who is talking to who here. Because this is a form of counting that began with the Lord God of Israel. It was given to Moses on Mount Sinai, and he taught it or passed it down to the nation of Israel. And you've been counting this way ever since and don't even know it. Because you don't pay attention to what you read. It's as simple as that. It's called, it has a name. You can define this. It's called the day after tomorrow sequence, or inclusive reckoning, or reasoning, or inclusive counting. That's what it's called. So we're going to get to dealing with this. And we're going to show you that it's right in the book here. Who's, as I said earlier, who's talking here to Moses? Who is this talking to Moses? Because Moses didn't make up nothing. He was a servant of God. Okay, go to verse 3 and read. Start reading there.
And Moses went up unto God.
We see Moses went up to God. And I'm being very deliberate. Go ahead.
And the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel.
So he getting ready to give Moses something. He said that this is what you tell the children of Israel, or you teach the children of Israel, after I give it to you. Skip down to verse 10. We'll read 10 and 11.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today.
Wait a minute. Take your pencil out. Write down that word, and sanctify them today. That's one, right? Today. Go ahead. And it don't say what the day was, but we just showing you something here. Today. It's got to be one day. Go ahead.
And tomorrow.
Wait a minute. Today, so that day passes into what? Tomorrow? How many days
Tomorrow.
is that?
2.
That's 2. That's 2. Go ahead.
And let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the 3rd day.
What?
For the 3rd day the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai.
How many days do we have here?
3.
Did it tell you, brothers and sisters, what time Moses went up to the mountain? No.
No.
Had nothing to do with time. Nothing to do with minutes and seconds and hours.
It has to do with the day.
It has to do with the day, today. So no matter what time it was, you include that day as a whole day, meaning 24 hours. It's simple as that. You do it today. But you don't understand what you be doing. It could have been, I'm not saying it was, just to give you an idea what we're talking about. It could have been 5 p.m. He went up. All the other hours before that, it was gone. But you still have to include the whole day, whatever day it was. Say, for instance,
That's the day. That's day 1.
it's day 1.
Today, no matter what time it was.
Let's get specific. Let's look at the crucifixion of Christ. It was it said 3 p.m., wasn't it?
3 p.m., the 9th hour.
9th hour. This, as they began the 6th hour, but anyway, in 9th hour he gave up the ghost. But anyway, that was Friday. All of that day earlier had gone. You had missed all of them hours. You don't even worry about that. But you still have to count Friday as what? A whole day. This is how you get 3 days and 3 nights. It's been in the Bible all this time, and this is what you yourselves have done over the course of time in your lives, and still do it. So that Friday was a whole day. It's got to be. Because God is not a liar. He said he was going to be in the grave 3 days and 3 nights. Are you calling him a liar? He was in the grave Friday. That day, you include the whole day. Saturday. And he came out of the grave, he rose Sunday. You have to include that whole day. You have to, or else it's not a day. How can you call a day when you ain't got all the hours to go to? It's not 24 hours. Well, you can do that as well. If it's Sunday at 1 o'clock, still Sunday. Sunday, it's that day, the whole day. What did you do on Sunday? Well, I did so-and-so, so-and-so. What time? Don't matter. On Sunday, I did this and that. This is how you have to deal with this. This is what you're looking at right here. And this came from what? Came from the Lord, brothers and sisters. The day after tomorrow. You got both of them in here. Inclusive reckoning as well. If you keep reading. So, this is how you get 3 days and 3 nights. And it came from the God of Israel. Mm-hmm. You're looking at it right here. Skip down to verse 15. And we're going to read 15 and 16. Be ready against the third day. He said, sanctify them today, which is day 1. He said then, and tomorrow, that's day 2. Then he said, on the third day.
This is when he's going to come.
When he's going to come. So what you have, 3 days and 3 nights here, brothers and sisters. This is what you got here. Been in Exodus 19 all this time. You just reading over it, not paying attention to what you're reading. Letting people tell you what something is. Go back and read it. And after I get through reading it to you, and you finish looking at this lesson, you reread it. It's saying what it's saying. You have to include the whole day. If you say Friday, that includes the whole day. To all 24 hours. You say Saturday, that includes the whole day. All 24 hours. You say Sunday, it includes the whole day. All 24 hours. Simple as that. Now, skip down to 15, read 15, 16.
And he said unto the people, behold, and he said unto the people, be ready against the third day.
Be ready on the third day. Go ahead.
Come not at your wives. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings.
When was this?
On the third day.
It was the morning. It wasn't in the evening. It was the morning. It still was called what?
The third
day. You have to include the whole day, brothers and sisters. This is what you're reading here. It don't matter what time it was. It was the third day. The whole day is inclusive. You have to include that. This is what you're reading here. Go ahead.
And a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of a trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that were in the camp trembled.
Okay, that's enough of that. But like I say, it's here. Both are here. You have the day after tomorrow sequence, and you have inclusive reckoning right here as well. And what we're going to do now is define a few words to further prove this to you. What we're going to do, we're going to go into the Webster's New International Dictionary of the English language, a very old dictionary. It's over 80 years old. In some places, it's about 100 years old. When you look at the first time they started dealing with this book, this dictionary was in 1909. So that's over 90 years at least. That's how old this definition is. This dictionary is. So in any case, we're going to look up the word. It's the Webster's New International Dictionary of the English Language, 2nd edition, unabridged, 1937. And former other copyrights were in 34. Previous editions copyrights were in 1909, 13, 1924, 1926, and 1930. And we're going to define the word inclusive and see what it means. We're going to go to page 1258, and when you get there, start at number 1 and read that.
Inclusive, enclosing, encircling, surrounding, containing, comprising, as inclusive walls.
As inclusive walls. And when you keep saying inclusive, don't that sound familiar to another English word you know and recognize? Include. You include. Go ahead.
Also tending or of a nature to include.
I just said that. Here it is right here in the definition. Include. Like I said, no matter what the time is, if I say Friday, you include that whole day. It's as simple as that. The Messiah was crucified that Friday at 3. You include that whole day. The whole 24 hours, brothers and sisters. That's what makes a day. We established that at the beginning of this lesson. Go ahead.
As an inclusive, as opposed to a divisive church.
Number 2.
2. Enclosed, contain.
You got to pay attention to this. Go ahead.
Inclusive, comprehending the state limit or extremes, as from Friday to Monday. Inclusive, that is taking in both Monday and Friday.
And what this means is no matter where Monday begins or Friday begins, you include the entire or whole day, brothers and sisters. This is what this definition is telling you. Inclusive. You include. No matter what time you start in either one of these days, you have to include the whole day. That's what it's saying. Okay, this is another word we're going to look up, because I told you that this form of counting is defined by the Hebrews, the ancient Hebrews, as the day after tomorrow sequence, inclusive reckoning, inclusive reasoning, or inclusive counting. So this is why we looked up the word inclusive to see what it meant. And now we're going to look up another word, reckoning. Page 2079 in the same dictionary, this Webster's New International Dictionary of the English Language, 2nd edition. And we're going to look on page 2079 and define the word reckoning. What does it mean?
Act of one who reckons, counts, or computes.
Computes. Go ahead.
Result of reckoning or counting, calculation.
It's like you're adding whatever you have to add to make this what it's supposed to be. You're counting. You're computing. Okay? And we're going to further or show you this by looking up another word, reckon. On page 2078, read the definition of the word reckon.
Adjective. To name in order, to recite, specify, to count.
To count. Go ahead.
Now, unusually, to compute, calculate, as to reckon the days before Christmas, the size of an audience, one's total indebtedness.
And read number 4. This is what I'm after right here.
To count in as part of a total.
This is what reckoning means, or reckon means, or reckoning means, or inclusive means. Same thing. To count in as part of a total. So though the Messiah went in the grave Friday evening, you know, the day was still the preparation day, Friday, and all those hours in that day had passed. You have to count in as part of a total the whole day. You have to include it, because they say he died on Friday. You have to include the whole day. That's how you get your 3 days and 3 nights, brothers and sisters. Because you can't read nowhere in the Bible verbatim that 3 days and 3 nights is a literal 72 hours. You can't read that in the Bible literally at all. But understanding what makes a day and so forth, you can come to that conclusion by doing it the right way. And we're showing you how to do that. And now let's go and look at one more word, reasoning, in the same dictionary, page 2074. Reasoning, because I said this was defined as inclusive reasoning, as well as inclusive reckoning and so forth. Go ahead.
To reckon, believe, think, to count.
It's dealing with counting. Go ahead.
An expression or statement offered as an explanation of a belief or assertion, or as a justification of an act or procedure.
And we've just given you all of that right in this definition, letting you know how you get 3 days and 3 nights. This came from the Lord. It was given to Moses. He passed it down to Israel, and you yourselves count this way. I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. You count that way yourselves. That's enough of that. We're going to also, I have another Webster's Dictionary definition of the word reason, but we don't need to read that because it's all talking about counting and calculating. And what I wanted to get to, and I did, and this reckon is to count in as part of a total.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you get 3 days and 3 nights. You count in, you include, okay, the whole days in this sequence of the death and resurrection of Christ, brothers and sisters. Okay, now let's go and we're going to read something in Jonah. Let's go to the book of Jonah. Let's continue to confirm this out of the scriptures. Let's go to Jonah 1 and read verse 17 and see what it says here. And you ask yourself, when do we begin counting in this particular scenario right here? You know, because they say Jonah was in the whale's belly 3 days and 3 nights. When did we start counting? He was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights. When did we start counting according to what we read in the scriptures? It ain't no specific hour. It's just a day, 3 days. This is the thing you're not paying attention to. You include the entire day. You reckon. You use reasoning. Okay? So, read verse 17.
Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights.
Okay, well, anywhere in this chapter does it say, when did we start counting? Irregardless of the days, we know there had to be days. And each day is 24 hours, brothers and sisters. That's how you get a day. So, no matter when it was in terms of what Monday, Tuesday, whatever the case may be, we're talking days here. 3 days and 3 nights. Full days and full nights. Combined, you have a total of 3 days and 3 nights. So you include the whole day. No matter what day. If it was on a Monday, the fish swallowed him up. He came out on the 3rd day. If it was on a Tuesday and the fish swallowed him up, he came out on the 3rd day. And you know what that is. All you have to do is just use reasoning here. And anyway, you can't read nowhere literally.
The thing is, the whole point is, if it was a Monday, you have to count Monday.
Exactly.
And then Tuesday be the 2nd day and Wednesday the 3rd.
As simple as that. And that's the way, when you're dealing with the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ, that's the way that was done. And you have to do it that way, because the Bible don't change. You can't change the Word of God, which is what a lot of Hebrew Israelites have done. Yeah, well, he was crucified on Wednesday, and you're trying to figure it out in your mind. In this American English way of thinking. The Bible, your forefathers spoke Hebrew, brothers and sisters.
So the whole point is that you're including whether he went in the morning or the evening, you're including what's missing.
It's all that
from
simple.
Whatever time he went in.
It is all that simple. The same way it was done in Exodus 19 chapter. We don't know what time Moses went up on the mount to talk to the Lord, but whatever time it was, we know it was the first day. Today, it said. And this is what you're not paying attention to. Brothers and sisters, you got to do better than that. And you can't read nowhere in this Jonah that this was literally, excuse me, a 72-hour thing, but we know if we count accurately, we come up with it. Depends on, you got to understand what you're doing and how to do this. And it's right here in the Bible.
But nowhere in the book does it talk about hours.
Hours. It does not.
Does it say hours? It just says days.
It's simple as that. We're going to go into Leviticus. We're going to stay in Leviticus 19. Let's go to Leviticus 19 chapter. We're going to read 5 and 6. Inclusive reckoning, reasoning, or inclusive counting, or day after tomorrow city. It's right here. Right in Leviticus 19, 5 and 6. It's all of them right here. Read 5 to 6. We're going to show you that.
And if ye offer a sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord, ye shall offer it at your own will.
Now, this is a peace offering, but look what it entails here. Go ahead.
It shall be eaten the same day.
Wait a minute.
Offer it.
The same day, brothers and sisters. Well, the same day, that was a day, wasn't it? That's one day. The same day, we don't care when it was, this is day 1. Go ahead.
And on the morrow.
The morrow, that's another day. That's day 2. Go ahead.
And if aught remain until the 3rd day.
Till what day?
The 3rd day.
That's another day. What do you have here?
It shall be burnt in the fire.
What do you have here? 3
3
days and 3 nights. It don't have to literally say that. You have understanding, you know it's saying.
Well, as we understand, is that when you say the third day, a day includes morning and evening, or evening and morning.
It's all that simple, brothers and sisters. This is what you've been reading all this time. It's simple. There's nothing to scratch your head about and be pulling your hair out about, trying to figure out how they got 3 days and 3 nights from Friday evening to Sunday morning. Very simple. We're in the law reading this. It's been there all along. But for some kind of reason, your pastors chose to change this and make up their own stuff and feed it to you, and you believe and preach that, and you better stop it because it's not the truth. He was not crucified on a Wednesday evening. I don't care what they tell you, you can't read that in the book, and we're going to show you that a little bit later on. We're going to go right to where they try to change something in the Bible. Well, they have done it, but they've done it on you. And you need to stop that. But anyway, we're going to go on. All 3 of them are right there. Mm-hmm. All 3, we just read them. Inclusive reckoning, reasoning, inclusive counting, and the day after tomorrow sequence is right here in this Leviticus 19th chapter, verse 5 and 6. We're going to keep it moving. Let's go to Luke. Let's go back to the gospel. Luke 13. We're going to go to 31 and read down to the 33. And you've been leaning on your own understanding, but even worse than that, brothers and sisters, you've been leaning on the understanding of a pastor that don't believe what he reads, and he's feeding that unbelief to you. And you preaching it, and you better stop it.
And one thing I vividly hear in my head is that, well, you can't get 72 hours from Friday to Sunday. Friday, well, it wouldn't be 72 hours even if they counted it the way they counted, because he died at the 9th hour.
It's all that simple.
So it would be more than 72 hours.
It's all that simple. You don't understand what you're reading here. This is why we're showing you this, how it was done and how it's continued to be done over the time that has passed. We still do it today. You're going to do it tomorrow, perhaps. You walk up to your friend and say, man, didn't I loan you $10 last week? And the day that you see him, it's on a Monday. And it says 5 in the evening, you run into your friend, man, don't you owe me $10? Dude, I'm broke, man, until I get paid. I need that $10, man, to get back and forth to what I got to do. I need it. On the 3rd day, I want you to give me my $10. When do you start counting? And this is a Monday, you see him. Monday evening. Do you wait and start counting Tuesday? No, you didn't tell him on Tuesday. You told him on Monday, so you include that whole day. That's day 1. Then Tuesday, you're looking for your Monday, Wednesday. It could be early that morning. He can walk up to you, hey man, it's the 3rd day, dude. You still got to count that whole day. Oh, you have to include all of that 3rd day.
Maybe the morning or the afternoon.
It's all that simple. This is what you're dealing with here. Okay, and this form of counting came from the Lord. It was given to Moses, who gave it to Israel. Now, when you get to verse 31, we're going to read to the 33. Luke 13, 31 and 30. Read.
The same day there came certain of the Pharisees, saying unto him.
Okay, well, I wonder when the same day is. Let's keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Get thee out, and depart hence, for Herod will kill thee.
Go ahead.
And he said unto them, Go ye and tell that fox,
Go ahead.
Behold, I cast out devils, and I do cures today.
Oh, so today is that same day. That's day 1, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I do cures today, brothers and sisters. That's day 1. Go ahead.
And tomorrow.
That's day 2.
And the 3rd day I shall be perfected.
The 3rd day, that's 3 days and 3 nights, brothers and sisters. You have to include all the hours. To make a day, it has to be 24 hours automatically. You're dealing with 3, this is your 3 days and 3 nights right here. The same sequence we told you is right here.
And he's saying it.
Now we got Jesus
today,
telling you
and
this.
Tomorrow, and the 3rd day I will be perfected.
And this is Jesus talking here. You can't get around this. You can't reject this. This is your 3 days and 3 nights right here. Does it say specifically 3 days of verbatim?
And it doesn't say 72 hours.
No, it doesn't. But you have to have some reasoning skills. You have to have some faith and some belief in what you've been reading. And what we've given you bears what we just said out. Because here's your sequence right here. Your day after tomorrow sequence. We have your inclusive reasoning. They both right here. This is what you're reading here, brothers and sisters. Did you finish that? On the third day, go ahead.
33. Nevertheless, I must walk today and tomorrow.
Wait a minute. He's doing it again, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Today, that's day 1. Tomorrow, that's day 2. Go ahead.
And the day following.
It's what day, brothers and sisters?
The third day.
The third day. 3 days and 3 nights. This is in the Bible. Go ahead.
For it cannot be that a prophet perish out of Jerusalem.
This is it right here. We're reading it. Come on. You got to see this, and if you reject it, that's on you. I'm gonna show it to you. This is the truth of God. And it's very simple. It's not complicated. And now I'm gonna ask you, who changed this, what I'm about to read now? Because this is what the problem is. Who changed this? Think about what I just said to you. Because the old is the base of the new. So the new is not going to speak in a different manner in terms of the old. Mm-hmm. The scripture ain't going to do that. It's not going to contradict itself. God is not a liar. So you find something new, you always are able to go back and look into the Old Testament and bear it out, because it came from that first. That's why I said the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. But somebody changed something. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Most pastors make changes in the Word of God, and then they teach their congregations to do the same thing. But anyway, let's go to Daniel 9. We're going to read one verse, verse 2. Let's see what this says here. Because I want to find out clearly if this is a literal week here he's talking about. Or, you know what I'm saying? And he tells them clearly something here. But let's go and read verse 2.
In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years.
Now, wait a minute. Daniel is very clear what he's saying here, isn't he? Mm-hmm. He said, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of what?
The years.
He didn't say weeks, brothers and sisters, or days of the week.
No.
He said years. Remember that. Go ahead.
Whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet.
And not your elder or your preacher or your pastor. It said the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet. Daniel understood this. He obviously was reading Jeremiah the prophet. Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
That would accomplish 70 years.
Wait a minute. 70 weeks?
Years.
70 literal weeks?
Years.
Perhaps he said 70 weekdays.
Years.
Brothers and sisters, this says all day long. You can't change it 70 years. You let somebody change this on you. Go ahead.
In the desolations of Jerusalem.
So that's what we're talking about, 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. And he got this from Jeremiah. Now, let's go to Jeremiah, and we're going to read the 2, and then skip to 11 and 12. We're going to go to Jeremiah 25 and read verse 2 and see if he was lying on Jeremiah. He made up something. Okay, we're going to go to Jeremiah 2. When you get to Jeremiah 2, we're going to see if Daniel lied on Jeremiah. Because you see, he learned out of books that this thing was about years. The desolation of Jerusalem was about years, 70 years. He didn't say 70 weeks, literal weeks, or the weekdays. He didn't say nothing like that. He said 70 years. Let's see if Jeremiah said the same thing, because he said he got it from him. So when you get to Jeremiah 2, chapter 25, Jeremiah 25 and 2, then we're going to skip to 11. So when you get to 2, read.
The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah, mm-hmm. and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying. I
wonder why he was speaking to them, because he was letting them know about these 70 years of desolation, brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. He wasn't talking about no 70 literal weekdays. 70 years. Okay? And when it mentions week in Daniel, it's talking about prophetic weeks of years. You can't let people change stuff on you, and that's what's going on. That's what's been done. You can't find no literal weekday at all there. Okay? And this is going to verify that. Skip to 11. We're going to read 11 and 12.
And this whole land shall be a desolation
Mm-hmm.
and an astonishment.
Go ahead.
And these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years.
How long?
70 years.
70 weeks?
No.
70 literal weeks? Weekdays?
No.
Brothers and sisters, this is 70 years. And when you, like I said, when you deal with the word weeks, and then it's prophetic weeks of years. Still talking years here. Not no little weekdays. All right. Now we confirm that this is where he got this from. Read verse 12.
And it shall come to pass when 70 years are accomplished that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, saith the Lord, for their iniquity and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it perpetual desolation.
And he did that, brothers and sisters. The Lord did that. In any case, where's Babylon now? Old Babylon. That's what we're talking about here. Where's it? Ancient Babylon? It's destroyed.
Perpetual.
Okay? Now, we're going to go back to Daniel. So that's where Daniel got this from. So Daniel didn't lie on the prophet Jeremiah. And when he got there, I'm going to show you something else about this Daniel 9. Okay, we're going to go to Daniel 9. We're going to read 21, 24 to the 27. And I'm going to show you something here that you've forgotten this entirely. And I can't believe that you have. But many of you Hebrew Israelites have forgotten this. This is the 70-year captivity that Daniel the prophet was praying about and asking the Lord to send him some understanding through an angel or whatever the case. But this is what he was praying about, because he read Jeremiah, but obviously he didn't understand all of what was written there. So the Lord sends Gabriel the angel to answer his question in person. And you know what? This is who talking here. Gabriel the angel. This is not Daniel. So are you going to call Gabriel a liar? This is the angel of the Lord who stands in the presence of the Lord, sent by the Lord to his prophet Daniel to tell him what? The truth of this matter.
Can't speak nothing but the truth.
That's all he does is speak God's truth. He's his messenger. And are you going to call Gabriel a liar and say that this is not 70 prophetic weeks of years? Because you know it is. All right, let's read what went on here. Let's go to 21 and read.
Yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation.
This is the angel Gabriel. He was called a man. That's another lesson. But anyway, this is Gabriel here. He flew swiftly to Daniel to give him an explanation, because Daniel was praying about this thing. Praying to the Lord. I don't understand this. Come on, man. I need somebody to tell me about these 70 prophetic weeks of years. I don't understand it. Go ahead.
And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding.
Did Gabriel lie?
No.
It's obvious that he did not lie, brothers and sisters. He came to give Daniel skill and understanding of his question. His understanding was about what? The 70 years of desolation of Jerusalem and what was going to happen to the people of Jerusalem, brothers and sisters. It wasn't no 70 weeks, little weeks, or weekdays. Skip down to verse 24 and 27, because if that's the case, you telling me Israel was only in captivity 70 little weeks. We know that's a lie. Or just 70 days. We know that's a lie. These are prophetic weeks of years. Always has been, always will be. You cannot change the word of God. Don't allow people to do that. And they've done that to you. Skip to 24, we're going to read to 27 and further understand this. Go ahead.
70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity.
Now hold on a minute. It says 70 what?
Weeks.
Are these literal weekdays or literal weeks? No. These are prophetic weeks of what?
Years.
Years, brothers and sisters. This is what you're reading here. You can't let people change stuff on you. It makes matters more complicated and you become more confused. And you lose sight of the truth. And that's the purpose of the person who's feeding you this nonsense. Because he wants you to believe his truth. And all that's in that is death. Because this way you can wind up, you keep just listening to people. You better get back in this book and read this. This stuff is plain, it's simple, and it's the truth of God. And we're talking about 70 years, prophetic weeks of years. But go ahead and continue this.
And to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy.
Most holy. Go ahead.
Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem.
Wait a minute. Who's doing the talking here?
Gabriel.
Who?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, brothers and sisters. This is not Daniel. And you have forgotten this. Is Gabriel a lying angel sent to Daniel from the Lord to lie to him? Ask yourself that question. Did the Lord send the angel Gabriel down to Daniel to lie to him about the 70 years of captivity and the destruction of Jerusalem and its people? No. And you have forgotten this. Go ahead.
From the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks. And 62 weeks.
I'm not even going to do the calculations because you Hebrews are very good at that. 69 weeks. You do all of that. Okay, we're just going to stick to this plain, because when you get to doing that, you get to messing with numbers and fooling, messing up yourself. I know how to calculate this, but I'm not going to do it. That's not the point here. Okay, but go ahead.
The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times.
You can go back to Ezra and Nehemiah and read about that. That's not what we after. Go ahead.
And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off.
Now wait a minute. After 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. Are we talking about literal weeks here? Because if we are brothers and sisters, I want you to bear this in mind. You are telling people that the Messiah came, and if we talking about literal weekdays, we talking about literal weeks. The Messiah came, and he only preached how long?
3.5 years.
No, that's not what they're saying.
Oh.
That's not what they're saying.
He preached a few days.
He preached a few days. That's what you be saying if you believe this. If it was a matter of weeks, because it's cutting this thing in half. We talking about days here. That didn't happen. This has got to be prophetic weeks of years. This is talking about the ministry of the Messiah. Okay? And he was cut off or killed in the middle of his ministry. You understand? He preached for how long? You got to ask yourself that question. He got 3.5 years left to teach, doesn't he? So he had a 7-year ministry, brothers and sisters. And he was cut off in the midst of his ministry. Meaning he taught for 3.5 years. So he got 3.5 years more to teach when he returned at his second coming. This is not talking about no literal weekdays or no literal week. These are prophetic weeks of years. Continue.
Shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, And the people of the prince shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
So this is telling you two things. That the Messiah is going to be cut off, mean killed, but he ain't going to be killed for himself. He's going to die for the sins of the world. Simple as that. And it's also talking about, at that time, the people of the prince, which is the Romans, they're going to come and they're going to destroy the sanctuary in 70 AD. We're talking 70 AD here, bro. We're talking about a few things here. I just wanted to point that out. Go ahead.
And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined.
This flood got to be an army here. So, and this, because that's what started, that's who's involved in wars. Who? Armies. The Roman army.
Because it couldn't be a literal water flood, because he said, promised he'd never do that again. So you have to think about that.
When have you ever read that Jerusalem was flooded with the water? Israel was over there and whatnot, and they were taken out of the land for 70 years because the Lord sent a flood upon Jerusalem in 70 AD. What can you read? Come on, brothers and sisters, you need to stop and open up your ears and eyes. People have been talking crazy to you and twisting things around, and you got something very simple that you can concretely prove and bear out. Just twist it up so bad that you don't even know what you're talking about half the time. I just shake my head sometimes at some of these people and things they be saying because they can't prove it. But they have been led to believe that they can. And it's just sad. It really is. But finish reading this.
And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And
that's 7 years.
And in the midst...
Excuse me. That's 7 years, not literal days of the week, brothers and sisters. That's 7 years. Go ahead.
And in the midst of the week...
Not Wednesday.
He shall cause the sacrifice and the oblations to cease.
This is not a Wednesday. We're talking 7 years here.
And not only that, which I think you say is another lesson, sacrifices and oblations did not cease with his death.
No, it did not. Here's what
so this has to be talking about something else.
Exactly. Because the only time they ceased in the sacrifice and oblations ceased in 70 AD. Why? Because the temple was destroyed, brothers. And as long as that temple was there, they had to sacrifice. That's why when the veil rent, when Jesus died, they just sewed it back up and kept it, because the law said they had to do it. They kept on sacrificing animals, bringing sacrifices to the temple. Paul was involved in that, bringing sacrifices and taking vows and stuff. They were still doing that because they had to, as long as that temple was built.
As long as you had the temple, the priests,
the Levites,
and the land,
and the altar of the Lord, and they were in Jerusalem, you had to follow the law. You had to keep the law, which was called the law of Moses, but it was the law of God. But anyway, so it say, and he was going to confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. That was 7 years. And he was cut off in the midst of them 7 years, but not the midst of the week, Wednesday. We ain't talking on literal weekdays here, brothers and sisters. You don't let these people switch this thing on.
And how could you start talking about years up here, and all of a sudden you want to make it weekdays?
How does that go? How do you do that? It's not one place in here that we're talking about no literal weekday. Not one. Not no Wednesday, Thursday, none of that. And yet you're going to let somebody spin this on you and have you believe this midst of the week is not referring to his 7-year ministry and him being cut off in the midst of it. And he then is going to make you believe that this is a literal Wednesday. Where do you see Wednesday at in here? Because remember, we've already established and proven that the 16th day is the first fruits. And if you count backwards, that was Sunday. So we got Sunday, Saturday, and Friday. Well, where's Wednesday in this equation? You tell me. Let me do it again. Because a lot of y'all be trying to use a lot of trickery, but this is too simple to trick anybody. We got 3 days and 3 nights. And the day that he rose was the first day of the week, which was that Sunday the 16th, which was the first fruits. So we're going to count backwards, not forward, because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to count backwards. This is Sunday, the first day of the week, the 16th was the first fruits. Then we got and that was the third day of his crucifixion. He rose on the third day, like he said. Then that Sabbath day, which was the Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, it was also the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the first day of unleavened. And it was Saturday. That was the second day of his crucifixion. That's day. Then we're going backwards, we wind up at Friday, the 14th day of the month, because that Saturday was the 15th day. 15, 16, 15, 14. Bro, you can't get around this, brothers and sisters. You can't get around it. You have let these preachers, these Hebrew Israelite preachers, confuse you and teach you lies about something that's clearly written in God's word. And he wants you to understand, he wants you to preach it like we're giving it to you because it's the truth, and you preach just the opposite of it. And you think he's not going to deal with you? Because a lot of y'all run around and think all you have to do is just keep the Sabbath and you're going to get in the kingdom. No, your conduct and what you do has a great deal of more bearing on how you get it into the Lord's kingdom. Your conduct is going to keep you out of there. Because if you teaching foolishness and you teaching lies, you're not going to get in the Lord's kingdom. You can believe that. You can take that to the bank. Because it's written in the Word of God also. You can't change that. Because you try to change everything else, you can't change that. Okay, but anyway, pick up where you left off and finish this. We're going to finish this out.
And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
All right, let's continue this. Let's go now to Matthew 27 and 59. We're going to read, start reading at the 59th verse, and we're going to read down to the 63. This is all in the Bible, brothers and sisters. You've been missing this. You've allowed people to twist this on you, something very simple. A method of counting given to Moses by God himself, and you use to this day, to this very day, you're going to use probably tomorrow and the day after that, you'll use this in some form or another, and you don't even know what it is, and you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite. This is part of your culture. Anyway, we're going to go to Matthew 27 and read at verse 59. Let's sum up all of what we've talked by reading here. And you see what I'm saying when we get here, but more, we got to understand this, brothers and sisters. We're going to start reading at the 59th verse in the 27th chapter of Matthew.
And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth. Okay,
this is the guy we read about him earlier. Big pilot for the body of Jesus and so forth. And remember, when was this? This was on the 14th day of the month April. Friday. Just throw away the word good. Don't mean nothing. This was a Friday. And this was the Passover. This is what you're reading here. The Passover. All right? And this was also the preparation day, which was the 6th day. We read that in the law of the week, the day before the weekly Sabbath. But go ahead and continue this.
And laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock.
Go ahead.
And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed.
Go ahead.
And there was Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sitting over against the sepulchre. Now the next day that followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that the deceiver said, while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again.
Didn't Jesus say this?
Yes, he did.
That's what he did. But you look, if you look at this, you can count the days, because we already picked up Friday. It say wrapping on this day he wrapped the body of Jesus. So they took him down before the Sabbath came in. So we're still dealing with the 14th day here. We're dealing with the Passover. They took his body down, and it goes on and say, now the next day,
following the day of preparation, which is Friday.
Brothers, it's right here.
So this is Saturday.
This is Saturday, the 15th day that this took place. And they reminded them of the words of Jesus that on the third day.
He said after 3 days.
After
so that
3
means
days.
they count. They scared because the next day is the third day.
That's
they
right.
gotta do something.
And what kind of counting are they using?
Hey,
Inclusive reckoning. The day after tomorrow sequence. All of this, brothers and sisters, is right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. All right, let's go to Mark 16 and further verify this. And we're going to read verse 9.
Now when Jesus was risen early the first day of the week.
Wait a minute. That had to be the 16th day because Jesus is the first fruits, right?
Mm-hmm.
He rose early the first day of the week. That means that was a Sunday because they gave the first day of the week a name as time went by. That was that Sunday, first day of the week, but it was the 16th day, but it was also the third day of the crucifixion of Christ. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, you got 3 days and you backtrack. We got what? The first day, which was Sunday, the 16th day. That's the 16th, the 15th, and the 14th. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 days and 3 nights. It's right here. Mm-hmm. It's right there. You know how to count? This is simple, real simple. Go ahead and finish this.
He appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils.
We're seeing this bear out right here that you get your 3 days and 3 nights because all you got to do is start, you know what you're dealing with, you start counting the right place and you got it. You understand how they did this. Now let's go to Matthew 28. We're going to read 1 to 9. Matthew 28, 1 to 9, and we're going to skip to 15, and we're going to continue to bear this out. It's all here in the scriptures, brothers and sisters. You can't read this anywhere else in terms of it being any different than what we've been telling you throughout this whole class. You know, 3 days and 3 nights. That's how you get 3 days and 3. You include the day. We're not talking time and hours, counting hours and time like that. If it say the first day, you count the whole day, no matter when it was. In this instance, we're talking Friday, which was the Passover, you count that whole day, 24 hours. Then Saturday, you count that whole day, 24 hours. He rose Sunday, the first day of the week, you still got to include that whole day because it wouldn't be a Sunday if you didn't. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. So we're going to go to Matthew 20. We're going to start reading at the 1 and read down to the 9 and then skip to 15. So start reading at the 1.
At the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week,
mm-hmm.
came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre.
So this is at the end of the Sabbath, meaning that high Sabbath as well as the weekly Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This is talking about, this is the end of Saturday. It's over with. It's
at the end, it was over.
It's over.
When he says end, it's end. It's over. The Sabbath is over.
It's as simple as that, brothers and sisters.
And then they say, as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week. What is dawn? That's the morning.
Because if you look this word up,
and day, in this sense, means morning.
That's right. If you look this word up in the
mm-hmm.
Greek, you go to 3796 in the Greek. It's O-P-S-E-H, opse. And I might not be pronouncing it right, opse, opse, O-P-S-E, that's the word. And what it says, when you look up the definitions, is after the close of the day at even, in the end.
Yeah, it was over.
It was over with. Sabbath was over with.
Mm-hmm.
You don't look up no words, so you don't know this stuff. But anyway, pick it up where you left off at.
In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre.
Now, if you go and you look up this word dawn, mm-hmm. you go to Greek 2020, and I ain't gonna try to pronounce this word. It's E-P-E-E-F-O-C-E-K-O, and that's not, it's spelling is E-P-I-P-H-O-S-K-O. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, brothers and sisters. Just look it up and you can pronounce it. But this is what it says. It says to begin to grow light, begin to dawn. It says toward the first day of the week. It says it is the first day of the week.
And it's the morning of the first day. When do we call dawn? When it's dawn, that means the sun is rising and coming up. It's the beginning of the morning of the first day of the week.
This is what this is telling you. It's as simple as this. But anyway, continue to read this. I just want to put them 2 words and break them down. They said, then came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. Start right there.
And behold, I already read that twice.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the next.
No, I want you to read that. Go ahead and read. And behold,
there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door.
That's who rolled it back.
And sat upon it.
Go ahead.
His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him, the keepers did shake.
Go ahead.
And became as dead men.
Go ahead.
And the angel answered and said unto the women, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus.
They was looking for their Savior. Go ahead.
Which was crucified. And he is not here, for he is risen.
Go ahead.
As he said.
And they remember what he had said. We've been reading this, putting this all together for you, brothers and sisters. We read parts of this earlier. We put it all together right here. Go ahead and continue.
Come see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead.
And because he had said on the third day, which was at that time the first day of the week, the 16th day of the first month. This is the first fruits. The third day he said he was going to be risen. And that's what we're reading here. Go ahead, continue.
And behold, he goeth forth. He goeth before you into Galilee.
Go ahead.
There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you. And they departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy.
Go ahead.
And did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying...
Wait a minute. He met them on what day?
On the third day.
It's the third day, brothers and sisters. Like he prophesied, he told them, I'm gonna resurrect on the third day, which is the 16th day, which is the first fruits, which also is Sunday, the first day of the week. That's what you've been reading all this time. Go ahead. And it's calculated as what? 3 days into Friday evening and Sunday morning, and you know how they did it. Go ahead.
Saying, all hail. And they came and held him by his feet and worshipped him.
Man, this is good. This is great. Brothers and sisters, what we have shown you. Let's skip down to verse 15. And I want to read this 15th verse for a reason. Because the chief priests, if you keep on reading this, they gave large sums of money and bribes to the soldiers to lie about the resurrection of Jesus, because they didn't want his prophecy in terms of what he had told them was going to happen to be true. So they wanted to put something in the game, some foolishness in there, and trickery and lies and whatnot.
And that's why they said they came together, because he said that, they came to figure out what they were going to do, because he said he was going to raise on the third day. Exactly.
But here, they paid, if you read all of this, they paid these soldiers, and they did. They lied about the resurrection of Christ and whatnot, and they're still lying to this day, okay? This present time, people are lying about this, brothers and sisters, the resurrection of Christ. But, here's the difference. The soldiers got money for it. What you getting paid to lie about this for? Somebody's just trained you to just be a liar. You ain't getting nothing for it right now. But you got something coming when the Lord comes back. You better understand that and change. If somebody's teaching you contrary to what we've shown you in this lesson, you better change that, because it's not true. We've shown you that. And he didn't die on no Wednesday. You can't find that in Daniel. But anyway, read verse 15.
So they took the money and did as they were taught.
And don't you be like this. You ain't getting paid no money, but you doing what you taught, and it's wrong. Go ahead.
And this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day.
Among the black Hebrew Israelites to this day, they doing this. These pastors done messed you up, and you ain't getting nothing for it. But a lot of grief when the Lord come back if you continue to do this. spread these untruths and these falsehoods. Anyway, we hope and pray that you've enjoyed this lesson, that you were thoroughly edified by this lesson, that your eyes were opened by this lesson, Teresa and I. We pray this. We teach things that we believe God has given us to open your eyes and make you stronger in God's word. And until the next time, we wish you Godspeed. Have a great day. Draw me